welcome to iMovie on iPad webinar. This webinar is provided by the West Midlands Regional Training Centre. We deliver courses to build the skills and confidence of educators to use Apple technology inside and outside the classroom. Joining me today is Sean O'Connor from KRCS, who will be on the chat. So if you have any questions at any point throughout the webinar, please feel free to use the chat and Sean will pick up any threads in there for us. So my name is Terry Coombs. Most of you, I think, are returning attendees to our webinars. I think there are a couple of names that I've not met before, so welcome. I am an Apple Distinguished Educator. I'm the Computing and IT lead at my school. I'm the Regional Training Centre Manager, but I've also got 20 years experience of classroom teaching as well. So today is all about iMovie. During this webinar, we're going to start with the basics of iMovie, and then we're going to look at editing and overlays, and finally green screen. If you have an iPad available, you are very welcome to learn alongside me. But I appreciate that many of you might not have the available resources prepped that I'm going to be using. You can use any kind of little video content or photos that you've got. It doesn't have to be themed or anything, because we're just playing around with some content. However, the video will be sent to you at the end of the day for you to use at your leisure, where you can pause and rehearse as much as you need to. So if you do want to learn along with us, by all means do so, but you'll have the video at the end of the session so that you can go very much at your own pace. So for today, I'm going to be using iMovie, and everything will be iMovie. So I won't be jumping in and out of my Keynote today. Everything is going to be iMovie. So I'm going to open up my iMovie app. And when you open iMovie, you should get a page similar to this one here. Now, I've been creating a lot of iMovies recently, so you can see I've got lots available. Yours may not have as many already used iMovies as mine. So to get started with iMovie, if you've never used it before, we start with our add option here. And then there are two options available to us. We have movie and we have trailer. Trailer is in itself a very scaffolded use of creating movies. It's not one I'm going to look at in this webinar. That would be an entirely different video. So we're going to stay over here in movie. It's a lot more diverse than some of the trailer sections. So when you select movie, it opens up straight away into your camera roll. And it draws down pictures and videos from your camera roll that you may want to use. So if you knew what content you're going to be creating, you could straight away start selecting content to put into your iMovie. I'm not going to select anything just at the moment. I'm going to go straight into create movie at the bottom of the screen. So when I open create movie, here is my workspace. There are three sections to my workspace. This part at the bottom left here, this is my timeline. So any of the videos that I create will be ordered, and this is where I'm going to be doing most of my editing. This section here is my media catalogue. This is where I can collect any videos, photos, or even any music files and audio files that I might want to add. And this part here is my viewing gallery. So as I start adding things onto my timeline, I will see what it looks like in this space here. So I'm going to start by going to my albums. And I already have, I do recommend organising your folders. I know it looks very structured, but when you're looking for different content, having folders in photos is really, really useful. So I'm going to open up my RTC iMovie folder here, and you can see I've got bits of video and photos available to use today. So I can tell that most of my media in here will be timestamped, so I'll be able to find it from the newest things that I've added on this morning to some of the things that I added on sometime last week at the bottom. So I'm actually going to use this one here, which is an animated water cycle GIF, which if you join me for Keynote animation, you'll be familiar with this one because it's something that we created together. So when I tap, I get a little box and I've got a play button and I've got a cloud button. If I add my play button, you can see it just plays through my selection. If I tap my cloud button, I now get an ad. So far, I've got nothing in my timeline. So when I press my add button, it now has that movie in my timeline at the bottom, and I can scroll left and right through that. So my movie is currently about 36 seconds, and I can see that at the end there, and I can move backwards and forwards to see what I've got in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to narrate my animated GIF. There's no sound on there at the moment, so I'm going to add in some narration. So I'm going to use the speaker button, which is over on this left-hand side there. And when I press the speaker button, you can see that I've got my audio tone going up and down, and I've got my red record button. So I'm going to record, and it will give me a countdown. The sun heats the water in the seas. So as soon as I press stop, you can see now I've got a purple bar underneath my images. I'm going to accept that because the audio is absolutely fine. So I can move that about if I need to, but actually it fits in right at the beginning. So even if I've got a photo that I add into iMovie, I can add sound on top just by simply recording inside of iMovie itself. I'm now going to add a photo to the end. So I'm going to move my timeline right to the end. So you can see I've added a video in already, and I'm now going to add a photo as well. So I'm going to use this water cycle photo here. And again, when I tap, I'll get my little add button and I can pop that in to the end. Now you can see that although this is a photo, when I start moving my timeline across, the photo's zooming in and out, and it may be missing, it's certainly missing off then some of that important writing that I want on my photo. This is called the Ken Burns effect. So if I tap on that photo, you'll see in my viewing gallery that I've got Ken Burns enabled. So I can just turn that off completely by tapping that button. There we go. So I can just turn it off, which means that the movements won't happen, but I can also control it. So at the moment it says pinch position to start. So actually I'm going to zoom into that part there. I want the picture to start right on the title. And then underneath, if I select pinch position to end, I want it to end so that I can see the whole page and the writing. So what that looks like now, I've controlled it. It starts on the title and it zooms out and it keeps the whole text. I've not got that bottom text part missing. So that's the Ken Burns effect. A lot of people don't understand that ability to control that is in the function just by tapping the photo and then using the pinch to the beginning and pinch to zoom at the end, or indeed turning it off if you don't want the photo to move at all. So in terms of creating a simple video, I've added a video, I've narrated some speech into there, I've added a photo, and I've used my Ken Burns effect. So that's the basics of iMovie. What I would then do is press done in my top left corner. I can change the title. So I'm going to call this basic iMovie. And then I can use the share button. And what the share button does is it allows me to save my video as another video clip inside my photo album, or I can share it with other users via AirDrop, put it into OneDrive or into Showbie. So I can share it outside of iMovie. It doesn't have to sit inside iMovie. So that's the basics part. And what we're going to move on to now is the editing. So I'm actually going to go back into this same iMovie. I'm going to press edit. And we have reopened the water cycle and we're starting to edit. So to improve my video now, I'm going to have a title page and some text. So I've already got my title page prepped. It's up here in my albums. So if I open albums and RTC iMovie, this one here is my title page. So if I click on my add button, it jumps right into the beginning because that's where I had my title page. You can see the Ken Burns effect is in action again there. So I'm just going to change it so that that's my position at the beginning, and actually my end isn't too dissimilar. There we go. So now I can see he's moving in and out rather nicely. So I also want to add that title page to the end as well. So if I just tap on my picture in the timeline, you can see that I get this extra toolbox pop up at the bottom. So I'm actually just going to click duplicate, which means I've got two of them. And now I'm going to hold my finger and I'm going to move that right the way to the end. You can do this with any of the media throughout your video, and when we get to the bit where we're splitting some of this middle video, you can mix and match and move things around as much as you like, and it's really easy. It's just click and drag it with you. So I now want to start adding some text labels. So as the process of the water cycle begins, you'll see here I need to move my recording across as well because it now starts a little bit too early. Okay, so we're going to add these text labels. So I'm going to move along the timeline to the part where the water starts evaporating. So I can see here, that's where my water is starting to evaporate. So I'm going to pop my little timeline bar, which is this white bar down the center, right at the beginning of that clip there. I'm going to tap, and then in my toolbar, because I've got actions selected here, I've got the option to split. So I'm going to split, and you can see here straight away, I've now got two video clips instead of one. So I'm going to move a little bit further along to when the evaporation is finished, which is just about there. I'm going to tap again, and once again, I'm going to tap that split box. So now I've got this evaporation process happening in its own little box. So I'm going to select that little box that we've created, but this time I'm going to select titles from my tool menu at the bottom. I've got lots of different options for titles, and you can see them being previewed for you there. I think for this one, I'm going to choose this focus one. And just by tapping on the screen, I can change the text, and I'm going to pop in evaporation. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I've got options here whether to have my text in the center or whether to have my text lower. So I'm going to have my text lower, and you can see it's popped into that bottom left-hand corner there. I've also got something called sound effects as well. So when I play this, if I've got sound effects on, you should hear a whooshing sound. Don't know whether you're getting any of my sound there. I'm not hearing any of my sound, so perhaps you're not, but there'd be a whooshing sound as the word evaporation appears. But of course, if that's not relevant, you can turn your sound effects off as well. So that's how to add text into different sections. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to have a look at some transitions instead. So you can see between my different sections in the beginning here, between my title, part 1 and part 2, I've got these little boxes there and there. These are transitions. So if I tap one of those boxes, I've got some options at the bottom. And again, I've got a sound effects option as well, which just does a different kind of swoosh or zooming noise. So just by tapping through those, it changes how you move between one part to the other. Some of them are more relevant than others. So if I choose a white one, in the seas. And it's about, I mean, children love playing with these and having great fun, figuring out what's right and what's wrong for them. The transitions are there for you to use, but of course you can say none at all, because it might not be relevant for you to have transitions between the different elements. It depends on the aim of the movie that you are creating. If it adds value, add in the transitions. If it doesn't add value, then leave them out. But children particularly spend a great deal of time doing that one. So you may find some parts of your video are a little bit too slow or even a little bit too fast. So I'm moving along here to where my rain falls. I think my rainfall is a little bit slow for the aim of my video. So I'm going to find the beginning part of where the rain falls. And once again, I'm going to make sure I'm in actions, and I'm going to split the clip. So I found the beginning of the rainfall, and now I'm going to find the end of the rainfall when that last drop falls, which is there, and press split again. So I've now got this middle section, which is just the rain falling down. So if I tap that part of the clip, and this time I'm going to go to speed, and you can see I've got a little turtle, which makes it slower, and I've got a bunny rabbit that's going to make it much, much faster. So if I move my slider to the fastest one, you can see here those lines indicate that I've adjusted the speed. So the rainfall will now fall much quicker than it did originally. This looks really nice if you're slowing down actions, if you're doing a movie related to PE and you're looking at technique, that ability to slow down the action and really have a look at what the child is doing and how they're throwing can be really, really powerful. So you can speed clips up and you can slow clips down as well. So what we're going to do now is you can also freeze frame as well. So if I move back to where my cloud is forming here, in my condensation part here, when I'm narrating this part, I've already planned out my narration. I know that actually I need a little bit more time in here because I've got a bit more to say about this condensation process then I have video time for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split that apart. So I've just got this bit here with the cloud. And on this one here, I'm going to go to speed, and you can see that I've got a freeze option. So if I press freeze, you can see in the timeline that it's actually extended how long that exact piece will stay on my screen for. Again, I can adapt this if it's a little bit too long just by using the slider, or I could even make it even longer. But what that looks like now is it just freezes that frame, it stops any movement, and it allows me to add some additional narration to that frame. So it's not that I have to go out and re-record a part, and it's just a more efficient process than duplicating that part of the clip again. So we have, in this section of editing, we've looked at adding some text, we've looked at duplicating, we've looked at the transitions and including sound effects where they're appropriate in there, we've looked at changing the speed and using freeze frame. Finally, in this section, you might want to look at adding different filters. So I'm going to add filters into this part here where the cloud forms. So if I tap that part of the movie and I tap down on my bottom toolbox to filters, I can change the colour and the feel of the different type of that part of my clip. So because it is getting a bit stormy, I could potentially go black and white. It's about to rain, so maybe something like that just makes it look like the sky has dropped colour. A really useful one to use in schools where you're linked with an English or a history topic is this silent era one with the lines that come across the page and the black and white feel. That's a really effective one to use. I'm going to have a go with the Blockbuster one there, but you can see that there are lots of different options for you to change the colour filter as well. So I've edited now, and I've used text, I've used speed, I've used filters. So to go even further with iMovies, we're now going to look at the opportunities to add overlays. So overlays are inbuilt features that allow us to add photos or videos in the same section of movie. So we're literally placing one media right on top of another so that we can see both at the same time. So I've already got some prepped talking heads, which is just a little bit of movie where I've actually used my son to give an explanation of some of the processes. If you are following along at home, you may not have those things prepped. It doesn't matter. You can use any kind of video here. It doesn't have to be in the talking heads process. It can just be any kind of video. So we're going to go to the part of the video again where our water vapor is risen and we're condensing as a cloud. So this freeze frame section part here. So what I'm going to do is, sorry, I'm just reading my notes here. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm hoping I'm picking the first one, so that's that video there. I'm going to select this video, but this time instead of pressing the add part, I'm going to select the 3 dots, because what I'm going to select here is picture in picture. Now what this will do, this is a great tool if you are doing something related to news and having that option to have a box at the side showing what's happening while there's another person in the studio. And if I click on that part of the video in the timeline, I do get this option here to drag it to a different place and even to pinch and resize it, because I don't want it covering an important part of my video. So picture in picture will literally put a little video box on top of your original movie. If you note the layering options in the toolbox, you'll note that these videos go on top of the main part of the video. It's not about putting my talking head video in first. My main video goes in first and then my talking head video goes on the top. So there's my little talking head video. I press play. He's muted currently, so I need to unmute him. Tapping volume, there we go.
Water vapor rises and condenses as clouds.
Okay, so the water vapor rises and condenses as clouds. So you can see that option for picture in picture there. And what we're going to do now is I've got a second talking head video at the top there, and we're going to add this one in exactly afterwards where my cloud is moving. So I'm going to be a bit delayed here, but that's fine. So I'll move my timeline along a little bit. And I'm going to select this second video. So once again, I'm going to click my 3 dots, not the add button. I'm clicking the 3 dots, and this time I'm going to select split screen instead. So what you'll see here is a complete split screen. So again, just another nice way of using 2 sets of videos together. So this one here is called picture in picture, and this one here is called split screen. I can control this part on the left-hand side as well. So if it's not in the right place, then I can pinch to zoom it around so that when I play, it's in the right place that I need it to be to show what the split screen is is talking about. So split screen can be really useful. This is really great. Again, if you are looking at technique, you've got somebody in PE with a perfect example technique and somebody you want to critique, then you've got them doing that same motion at exactly that same time. So split screen can be really, really useful. You can also add video in directly. So I apologise in advance for this because I'm going to be turning the camera onto myself in just a moment. So it might be that there is a part of the video you need to explain a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap my video camera button, which is next to my microphone in that left-hand side. And I'm just going to turn the video around onto myself. Good morning, everybody. And I'm going to use my record button here to record straight in. The rainwater runs down the high slopes and is collected in streams, rivers, and seas. So if I press use video, you can see that that's dropped straight into that video part there. It's even gone over a little bit of the split screen, so I'm just going to move that across so it doesn't involve the split screen. So if, like me, you're not actually a fan of having yourself on screen, the reason I've done this was it was about the narration, but because actually this isn't the video bit that I want to see, what I'm going to do is replace the picture of me with a picture of the seas and the streams. So I'm going to use this picture here. And when I tap on it and tap on the three dots, I'm going to use Cutaway, which is that top option there. And what that does, you'll see, and when I play it, the rainwater runs down the high slopes and is collected in streams, rivers, and seas. So you can see that the video itself cut away to a different picture entirely. It took the focus off my video, but it still allowed that audio part in there as well. So there are lots of different techniques you can use within iMovie to combine different elements of video, of photo. We've got split screening, we've got the little picture in a picture, and we've got the cutaway feature as well. So there is lots in iMovie that you can do. So finally, I'm going to press done on there. So I'm done with my water cycle video. So as I mentioned earlier, I could then share that out and I could drop that as a video straight into my photos file. What we're going to do for this final section is we're going to have a look at the green screen. So I'm aware that many of you won't have your own green screens at home, but it's well worth showing you how to use the green screens. So there is a chap on Twitter called Mr. Morgan Edu. And during the lockdown, he used his green screen at home to engage with his students. So I'm just going to show you a little shortcut video of what he did.
There's iMovie. 30 minutes later, so I'm not even going to watch it, but I'll email you. I'll email you. Now, what was the other one I did? Was Think Link?
Can we just check our microphones are on mute, please? Thank you. So I'll start that video again. I'll take it off mute myself. So this is Mr. Morgan. So you can see what he did each and every day. He did it for 50-something days. He created a short video with a green screen background, and his idea was, where in the world is Mr. Morgan? So each day he popped up in a new place and he left the children instructions on what to do. So it might have been as simple as, you know, here I am today, where do you think I am? here's your instructions that you're completing for your online learning. So really, really simple, but really effective, and quite a feat to have done that for 57 days in a row before he retired it. And that was Mr. Morgan Edu on Twitter. So that kind of process is what we're going to have a look at doing now in iMovie. Just before we start that, I'm just going to show you a resource that the BBC have released. This is called The Joy of Sets, and you can find this in just by a Google search. And what they've done is they've released some popular set photos, so that if you were doing a nice time travel topic, you can download that picture of the TARDIS, and then children can green screen themselves into the middle of the TARDIS, which is a fantastic experience for the children that they will really, really like. So you can see some nice old-fashioned quartermasters there, which would be great for BBC broadcasting. You could even put them on Strictly Come Dancing if they've got a dance film that they do in front of a green screen. Some really wonderful resources there for you to have a look at. So we're going to start a new one here. Now, if you're following along at home, this is only going to work if you've got some movie that's got a green screen behind you, green or blue screen. I have found at home it does work with my blue living room wall as well, but it's a one consistent colour that you need. But regardless, I'm going to start with my movie and create movie as I did before, and go into my albums, RTC, iMovie. So again, I'm going to be using my son here because he's much prettier to look at than myself. So he did some work on the Spanish Armada. And I'm going to use this little bit of iMovie here, and I'm going to add him into a breaking news. So I'm going to start with the breaking news, and I'm going to add that into my timeline. Now, I know that 6 seconds isn't going to be enough. Actually, that's not the one I want. I do apologise. I'm going to delete. It's the news desk. That's it. I know 6 seconds isn't going to be enough because that video there is 16 seconds. So I'm simply going to drag this out to be the space that I need it, 16 seconds. And then I'm going to go to this section with Liam here. I'm going to press the 3 dots, but this time I'm going to press green, blue screen only. And you can see he's appeared there in front of the news desk. Now, I must admit that's okay, and you could leave that there, but it's not quite right because he's not sat in front of the desk or behind the desk. So there are 2 ways you could do this. If you knew this was what you wanted to produce, the children themselves can sit with green screen over their knees, as well as sitting in front of a green screen barrier. Or if it's something that has occurred to you afterwards, you can actually use a little trick in Keynote to make that image smaller and to be able to put it into the right place. So the way that you would do that is pop out into Keynote, open a new Keynote. So I'm just going for a plain black or plain white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background colour to green. Doesn't matter which green. And I'm just going to get rid of any text boxes. And then using the add button and photo or video, I'm going to find my video of Liam. Where is it there? RTC iMovie. There's just my video, and press use. And I'm going to pop him onto the green screen. And I'm going to resize him. So the desk was about the front, so about there would mean that that desk is about here. So I think that's about right. So then I'm going to export that straight back out. So it's just a quick little tip. And I'm going to press export, and I'm going to export it as a movie. I've only got the 1 slide, so slide range all is okay. Export, and I'm going to share that back into my photos. So if I press to share and save video, that's now saved back into my photos. So when I go back to iMovie, it's going to be in my most recent ones. There it is. If I, well, first I must delete that one. So if I tap on my 3 buttons and press green, blue screen, you can see I didn't quite get the position right, but I was really almost there. That might be if I take off the Ken Burns effect there, or keep that still. I could even move that around and keep the background still. So I'd be getting there, a little bit more time to play around with that. But you can see how using the Keynote has meant that I can get my person in position. Now, this is great. I've seen it done with castles, and you want the children to be inside the castle. Being able to make that video clip that little bit smaller really helps. So just using that quick Keynote with the green background just allows me to have a bit more to have that ability to be a bit more specific and a bit more accurate. So there he is.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Friday afternoon news. Today we'll be interviewing Sir Francis Drake, who recently defeated the Spanish Armada, and we're going to pass it.
There we go. So talking about the Spanish Armada. So as we're talking about the Spanish Armada, he's then going to interview Sir Francis Drake. So I've got a lovely picture of the Spanish Armada there that I'm going to add into my timeline. Once again, I know that's going to be too small, so I'm going to drag that out. You can see this video has extended there because it lasted a little bit longer than those 6 seconds, so I've just reduced that there. And so his first question, I believe he's been the interviewer here on that 12 seconds. So again, those 3 dots, green, blue screen, and you can see the effect there. So Liam will ask his question.
Congratulations, Sir Francis Drake. It was a massive victory for us and Britain and you. I'm sure Queen Elizabeth will be very happy.
Okay. And then Sir Francis Drake would answer him there. You can tell it's Sir Francis Drake because he's got a hat on. Makes all the difference.
What was the question again?
How did you do it?
Well, first of all,
I've actually dropped the wrong bits of video in there, but I think you can get the idea that you can have the interviewer on the left side and the person answering, so in this case Sir Francis Drake, on that right side. Though again, interviews don't usually happen like this where you see the one person and then the other. Often you see them both together. So to do this again, I would use Keynote. So in my Keynote this time, I'm actually going to add both bits of video. So if I make sure I'm in the right album, there we go, RTC iMovie. Okay, so I'm going to add, I'm going to add that one there. And this time when I reduce the size, I'm going to move it to that left side. Even a little bit off screen there is fine, but I'm going to add the second piece of movie here, right next to it. So I'll have both pieces of movie on that same Keynote screen with the green in the background. It doesn't matter that my green backgrounds don't match. So you can see I've got both of them together on that same section. Move them as close together as possible. And then, as before, export that as a movie. And the movies will play one after the other. There might be a short time delay in the moment, in the middle of them, just maybe a second or two, but the movies will play one after the other. So Keynote has enabled me to join those 2 parts, and rather than it being stop-start, or in different locations, it's enabled me to join them together. So if I deleted those 2 from the top there, and I'm going to add in, I'm going to be in recents here, that little one there, 3 dots, green, blue screen, you can see that they're together. Now there's a little bit of colour change there. So if I click on my selected video there, up in this top right corner of the view, I've got these sliders. So I can play around with the strength of that background until I'm happier. I might not get a perfect fade out this time, but that's much better than it was, although I don't want them to look too ghostly. So I can play around with the strength there, and I can also drag corners. So if I did want to exclude a part off the background, I could do that. So just by using a Keynote trick, it kind of looks like he's talking to himself.
For us and Britain and you, I'm sure Queen Elizabeth will be very happy. So what was the question again?
How did
Okay, so you can see little tips for green screen in there, where the way that you do it is you're using the 3 dots and the green blue screen. The green screen is on top of your timeline, so always add your background in first and the green screen movie goes on top. That's often a common mistake that children use. They try and put the green screen movie in the bottom first, and then the background on the top. It's always the background first, then your green screen movie, and using Keynote, those effects where you can change the size of the person in your video, or you can even get them interviewing themselves. And again, once that's all ready, you'd press done, and you'd share that out. So you title it up and you share that out, whatever media that you plan to use at that point. So that is a whistle-stop tour through iMovie. We have covered quite a lot. We've done the basics, and having a look at how to add media in there. You can of course add music as well, which would just be a quick, I have got a few moments just to show you that. So if I go into edit, if I go into audio here, there is already some sound effects already inbuilt into this. And when I select that, you can see the audio just drops to the bottom part there as well. So there's lots of audio things that you can do. There are even some soundtracks that you can pick from that are copyright free and that you can use straight away with iMovie. So adding sounds is an option as well. We've looked at the different editing techniques with speed and filters and titles. We've looked at overlays, so we've done picture in a picture, split screen and cutaways, and then we've had a quick look at green screen as well. So quite a lot covered in those 45 minutes. So just to finish off, I hope that today's webinar has allowed you to consider how you would use iMovie to engage learners in your classroom. There is so much more you can do with iMovie, and I certainly recommend that green screening is one that you can have a look at on Twitter and see the wonderful things people have done with wormhole examples where they're using green Play-Doh or green paint. Some really great things that you can do with green screen and iMovie. If you are on your Apple Teacher Learning journey, then the skills that I've showed you today will allow you to go directly to the iTeacher Centre today and go straight for the quiz and give it a go. Everything that I've covered, trimming, transitions, photos, titles and overlays, are in your iMovie for iPad badge.